Welcome to our third special edition of Ask an Elder in celebration of Women's History Month. Today we will enjoy a second discussion with our Divine Nine Elders. Backed by popular demand, these elders share reflections on the inauguration and the role of faith and family in their lives. They end their discussion with a focus on the importance and responsibility of knowing and sharing our rich history with our future leaders. You don't want to miss this opportunity to watch these elders share invaluable pearls of wisdom. Without further ado, the NBLE Project's Ask an Elder.
All right, good. Let's see. Good evening. It's evening, I think, for everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
We're doing good.
Wow, ladies. After many opportunities, we get to come back together, and it's our connection last time was just so amazing, and I know that we wanted to come back toward the end of January, and then I think we tried again in February. But this is actually perfect. It is the perfect time, and you'll see why here in just a second based on the questions. So I know you. I'm excited that I get to talk with you, but I would love for our audience to know who you are once again. So if everyone could please introduce themselves.
Well, I'm Mary Ashford, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority.
I'm Betty Mack. I live in Maryland. I am a 63-year Delta Sigma Theta proud member. And I think last time I was so excited, I said that my Delta anniversary was in November. It was in December of 1957. So I'm glad to correct that. So good to see all of you. This is precious.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Marion Merriweather. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
I'm Mary Martin Blackman, and I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Awesome. Well, again, it's a pleasure to be with you all, and let's get into the conversation. So the last time we were together, it was in November. So many happenings since then. One in particular was the inauguration. Let's do our whole flashback Friday. All right. So Miss Mack, I'll start with you. What was your favorite memory of the inauguration?
Oh my. I was so excited that day. I don't think I could have been more excited if I had been there. The one thing that pops for me was the mood, not just her, but the mood that was set by the young poet, laureate. That was just, she was created for that moment. That was my feeling. Because I think she symbolized youth, she symbolized effervescence, she symbolized all of the creative talents that you can think of. I mean, she could have just been singing. She was just wonderful. But I think her presence there said a lot for that whole event, because there are people who will remember her presentation and will probably have forgotten the fact that, there were so many other notable people there. But that was the one thing that really, it made me feel very special.
Yeah. All right. And Miss Ashford, what would you like to share?
Well, before, I guess so worried that something would happen, and I too like to concur what she said about the port. But I think what I really liked is just seeing Vice President stand up there and take the oath. And what really, really got when she went over to former President Obama, that was just, I said, now just look at that. Look at those two. That was very, to me, said it all. Besides being worried that something would happen, but when I saw that, I said, Lord, nothing but you, Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was so excited and happy to see her sworn in of course, with Biden, but it was just something I thought I never would see. Like we thought we'd never see a first black president. So that was special to me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And speaking of Obama, can we just take to talk about Michelle's outfit?
Oh my God.
Wow. So
Wow.
I was at work and I had my phone down and I had it on mute and I'm trying to sneak and watch it. Hopefully no one will see this. But I'm trying to sneak and watch it. And when I saw that, I actually turned the volume up. Like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
Can I say something real quick before we
Yeah.
move on? Well, I hate the former president, his wife, and all the expensive clothes. Did you notice no one ever said anything about
Yeah.
Trump's wife clothes? And you know they were high dollar. No one ever said anything about it until she wore something being ugly. But
Yeah.
But
It's so
even
true.
Michelle came out just to steal the former first lady. That's all over the news. Even the news people were talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Miss Trump, she wore some nice items. I would see her sometimes. I said, okay, I like that.
But the media never said anything about it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. All right. Who's next? Miss Blackman, what would you like to share?
Well, for me, the inauguration was really a monumentous event in that we had some things going on in our country that wanted to preclude that.
Mm-hmm.
And since I live 8 miles from Atlanta, Georgia proper, of course, leading up to that, remember, we picked up 2 Senate seats.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of overshadowed by all that went on. So by the time we got to the inauguration, you know, I can take myself on cloud 9 for all that I see and, you know, get to participate in. And so it was such a wonderful occasion. And like you, Betty, Amanda Gorm stole the whole show because she put into words everything that was happening in the present moment.
Yes.
And she defined it for
Yes,
America.
she did.
And
Yeah.
that was just, it was just such a monumentous event because of all that we had gone through coming up to the event. And then she stands up there and she just encapsulated the whole thing in her presentation. And it just put almost like just a frosting on the entire event because it just made it for the moment in time that we were going through. It just gave us all so much hope, so much inspiration that a young person, this young, could get up there and encapsulate the entire moment. I thought that was just precious.
Yes.
And you
And
know,
for history- and for
biblically,
history's sake, it was wonderful.
yeah, it spoke to me biblically because it was like, and a child shall lead them.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else, I don't care how old they were, could have done that. It was as though she was giving us the word of the Lord just through her. And when I heard that some of it she wrote, I guess the night before, just, you know, it's just amazing.
Just amazing. And a young person, I always take great pride whether the person is black, white, blue, or Chinese.
Yes.
I particularly like when they are African American, of course.
Yeah.
But she was so articulate for a young person.
Yes.
So all the young people, I mean, she was such an inspiration for us. Imagine what she was for people of her age.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It really was wonderful.
Yes, I definitely agree. watched a segment on her that she actually received speech services when she was in school.
Yes.
So to have this confidence, and it was beautiful. Hi, Ms. Meriwether. Put a bow on this for
I agree with everything that everyone has said. And I think the moment for me, the entire event was just amazing. But when President Obama and Mrs. Obama came out, my heart just burst, because that's us. This is what we can do as a race, as a people, instead of other people always thinking, oh, we're nothing, but we are good. And when he came out, I was all happy. Then when my soror came out, I was overjoyed just to see that a woman like me from an HBCU like me, and how much she can achieve. I think it shows everyone's granddaughters. I have a great granddaughter that's 4. It shows her that you, baby, can do anything that you want. There's nothing. The only thing holding you back is you. And when I saw the event, it was just amazing. That's all I can say, is that it just brings it right on back home. We are amazing. We've been through trials and tribulations, but yet we made it. There's something that Reverend Frederick Price said, and I didn't realize it. He said, when they talk about 40 acres and a mule, we didn't get that. He says, like playing Monopoly. When you start Monopoly, everybody gets 200.
Yeah.
He didn't take his 200. And he was always behind, and he eventually lost the game. Well, with us, we may have started in back, but look at us now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Wow, this is so good and rich. So this is not this was just like the start, because I just wanted to make sure we honored what we said about wanting to talk about the inauguration. I'm now ready to get into the meat, and this is where I'm about to like just be a listener of rich wisdom. With it being March being designated as Women's History Month, that's why I think this was perfect in my selfish right for me, because for me to sit and come up with questions where I want to hear you all's wisdom in terms of some of the things that I would like for you all to share with me in honor of Women's History Month. So I'll begin. What has been, if someone were to refer to you and how amazing you are, what has been your most memorable moment that would speak to your greatest achievement? So at this point, I'm going to let whoever go first. But let me tell y'all something. It's not about if the famous part of it, or if your name was in lights. I mean, the thing is, just meeting you all last time and the rich wisdom you poured into me and all of the viewers. I'm curious to know, this is where I want you to brag on yourself a little bit. Who are you? And why are you such an amazing contribution to women's history?
Well, let's see. First of all, I'm a child of God.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
love that. And I raised 2 amazing children. My mother raised 4 amazing children with a 3rd grade education, but she made sure that her children could go further than she did. And most of us did. Even now, they've all finally gone on to get master's degrees. All of our children have gotten advanced degrees. So I think from nothing, as Marion said, from the 200, from nothing, look where God has led us. And not only did he lead me to get into education, where I helped students. And even last week, I took some food and money over to one of my volunteers that used to work with me in the library. So God has given me a heart of giving. My mother was a giver with nothing. She always made sure she had extra food to give someone. And so it just kind of boiled over to me. So I think my attribute is that I'm a loving person, that I'm a giving person, uh, that I just love to give to people and help. And when you give, one of my pastors said, you can't be blessed with the hand closed. If you want the Lord to bless you, you've got to open your hand and give it out. And so when you give it out, it comes back, and some witness to that during this storm. And we're not going to get into that. That for 3 days I had no heat, and my Anglo neighbors came over and made my fire. They brought me coffee. They just they did everything for, to help us. This black family among them. But prior to that, nothing, but they came through. So you just never know what happened. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate that, because I think sometimes we often think it has to be this over the top attribute that makes us special within, and just knowing that one is a giver, and one has a love for giving. That's an amazing attribute to have. I'm actually writing them all down as y'all see it. So,
Yes.
all right, who wants to go next?
Well, I think I'll go next. I actually feel that my greatest attribute is Vicky, who died as a baby, Reginald, and Brandy. Because I didn't start out life, although I have 5 sisters and I had 1 brother, I didn't start out life thinking I would be maternal. It just wasn't a thought of mine, because as the oldest child in the era that I grew up in, of course, you get to take care of all of your brothers and sisters. So I never thought that I would be a mom. I never envisioned that until Mr. Blackman came along and decided that not only was we going to raise a family, we were going to do it not in the United States of America. We were going to do it somewhere else. So a lot of changes came into my life all at one time. But when you ask me what do I think my contribution is, I would have to say to you, my children, just the fact that the Lord blessed me with my children, and that we raised our children and they are productive, individuals. I mean, I did for my children what my parents did for me. So to me, my greatest contribution in contributing to societies and my longevity of family is that I just did what came to me, what the Lord put in front of me, and I carried on. Where my parents started, I continued. And I think that's kind of like my best contribution.
I agree with both of you. I think being a mother, it makes you aware of everything: giving, loving, patience, patience, patience. I raised my sons as a single mom in Philadelphia. Never had a problem with gangs or anything of that nature. My house was where the kids came. And both have graduated from college, both have a master's degree. They were both in the service. One retired as a captain, one is a Navy. And they have their own families. And when I married my husband, we had a blended family, which meant that he had 6 boys, I had 2, and we had to bring it together. And with the love and patience and consideration with him and with myself, it made a big difference. And I think in teaching first grade, the one thing that my students have said about me, I influenced them to be more. I have one that's she wrote a book. She's there's another one that's a counselor. I think so many times I gotta turn the light on. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. Yeah, my wall is pink. I think it's all the virtues of being a good mommy, being a good person, loving, considerate, patient. And after I retired from teaching, I moved back home to New Kensington, and it's a similar situation as Bronte, where most of the community is Caucasian. But I taught Sunday school, and this one little boy's name was Zion. And my nickname is Tootsie. So being home, everybody calls me Tootsie. He said, Miss Tootsie, can you just tell me, does God really love me like you love me? I said, he loves you more than I love you. This is just a little boy that was in my class. And then one Sunday they had altar call. And he said, Miss Tootsie, I'm ready. I said, what are you ready for? He said, I want to be baptized because I love God. He loves me. He just went on and on. So he went in and the pastor talked to him. And he said, who told you? He said, Miss Tootsie said it's okay. I said, okay. So it's just a matter of being patient and cooperating with other people and accepting people where they are. The one thing that my pastor always said, if you talk to him on the phone, he said, I want you to continue to being a blessing, so that I want you to be a blessing to other people. I know I have it wrong. I want you are blessed. I want you to continue to be a blessing to other people. And that's the way I feel.
This is an interesting, this is very interesting, and I could piggyback on either one of you, but I'll tell you a little bit about me. Today, earlier, we met a lady at a post office. We had arranged this, and she's someone I've known. We worked together in our food pantry program that's in our church, and we've been doing this for a good while. And of course, the last year, it's been an amazing journey, just keeping up with that. And she's a person who likes to feed everybody. She's about to move. And today she said to me, you have got to know how you have influenced my life. I mean, I just, we've been busy working. We had stopped and talked. She said, but you've been my mentor, my friend, she just went on. But this is kind of the story of my life. I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in Mississippi because at 3 months of age, my father died. And my mother was left with, this baby in Chicago. So she brought me back to Mississippi, and I grew up with my grandparents. I believe in divine intervention, and I know that the Lord prepared me in this way. And it's amazing. I used to stand and look at my father's picture and just try to imagine what he was like. Of course, I never could. Uh, they told me things about him, but I couldn't imagine what that was like. But the Lord blessed me with a wonderful husband. And we have lived abroad. We have traveled a lot because he is retired from the military after 35 years. So with that, I was able to, balance life with our 3 sons, with a job always. And the amazing thing in my life, when I go back and think about it, I'm not bragging about this, this was a blessing. I attended 2 colleges and 1 university, did not apply for any of them. Grew up on a farm. The people in our town figured we had lots of money because we had land. And we were never hungry, and we always dressed well, but we had no money. We were dirt poor. I mean, I knew that. So there was no money to send me to college when it was time. In fact, I had to leave home to go to high school because of segregation. And so I went to 3 high schools, and I never thought about it that way until it was all over. I did very well. was not valedictorian of my high school class because the principal's daughter and I had about the same levels, about four of us that they ended up not having any valedictorian because he didn't want anybody else to have it. He wanted his daughter to be the valedictorian. And it didn't matter because we didn't get any brownie points for being that. But I am proud to say that when I graduated from Tougaloo College, I was valedictorian of my class. When I pledged Delta, we were in a running competition with the AKAs, of course, in terms of our scholastic work. And we worked hard to keep those, to make sure that our grade point averages was there. And it worked. It worked. I have to say, we stole that. We didn't steal it. We earned it. But it helped me. And so I then went to Atlanta University. And I got there because my professor, in both cases, my minister got me into college. My professor got me to the 4-year college. And then my professor, my department chair from the 4-year college got me into the university. That's divine. I mean, and I've always thought of myself as a blessed person. But not until today did I really think about when she said to me, you've just been so special to me. And this is a woman whose mother died when she was very young. And she was raised by a number of people because, the father had 2 daughters and there were people who would help him with her. And so, it's almost like a mother-daughter kind of thing. And we never had a daughter. So that's not a big, but it just pumped up my ego. I won't forget that I'm a child of God. I'm just like everybody else. But when someone tells you that you have been such an example for them, it just touches the heart. Just touches the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm glad I asked that question. So the next question I have for you all is I consistently hear that you all are women of faith and how that has served as a foundation to so many things in your life. I'll never forget Stormy O'Martin wrote The Power of Praying Woman. And I remember I had a younger cousin ask me, she said, April, how do you know when you are an adult? How do you know when you've arrived? And I said, here, I want you to take this book. And the power of prayer and the power of the amazing relationship with God is when you know. And the question I have for you ladies is, I would like for you all to share with me a nugget that, again, you all have touched so many people's lives in so many different ways. What nugget could you share about your walk with the Lord that would be very beneficial? It's something that we could all hold on to and say, oh, I remember. Whether it's your favorite scripture, whether it's a song that comes to mind, or even a recap of a quick testimony that often you go to as a reminder of who God is.
I think I want to start, April, because I am the daughter of a Methodist minister. So I have been raised my entire life in a religious environment. But the one thing I appreciate most about my dad is that along with the religious instruction, my dad actually provided me life instruction while we were walking the journey. I say that because I understood very early that God loved me. And I understood I was his child. And I was always raised to let his light so shine that others would see his good works in me. And then my testimony of living the love of Christ would eventually have that person to know the love of Christ. So I kind of tend to think that I've been on this journey all my life. I play piano and organ. I started as a very young child playing in churches. And so when I demonstrate to someone or testify to someone of God's goodness and grace, it's just something that radiates because that is my life. When you ask for maybe an inspirational piece that, there are times when you have to remind yourself of the goodness of the Lord. And so for me, it's the 23rd song because he was real plain in the 23rd song. You know what I'm saying? So the 23rd song has been my scripture since I was very young. I could pull out a myriad of them, but in the 23rd song, the Lord gave you a promise, and he will stick to that promise. And if you tell someone that, you can show them that he will walk with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to tell someone more so than to demonstrate to that person. We were talking earlier about our giving nature, about our patience, about the occupations that we're in. The Lord led us there because he gave us the patience and the knowledge and the guidance to help young people along the way. And in doing so, demonstrate him. And so I've just lived my entire life in that way. And so I don't know that I do a lot of talking, but I do try to do a lot of living like it's supposed to. And so I go by the motto of letting my light shine so that you see the goodness of my Father in heaven. I often think sometimes we really don't know how blessed we are. Because each day myriads of blessings visit us. You know what I'm saying? And they visit others, and sometimes you can show them that you are being blessed and highly favored by God because you're walking with him, and this is what he does for his children. That's just kind of like the only way I know to explain it.
Well, let's stay in the Psalms, and let's talk about songs and music. Music I love. Can't play it. My aunt tried teaching me when I was very young. She pecked my fingers one time, and I quit. I didn't take any more music, but I didn't have that talent. She was blessed. She was beautifully blessed, and my sister behind me was blessed also. So I'm the music appreciator. But I too love the Psalms. Psalm 27. It was my husband's mother's favorite scripture. And I discovered that we shared the love of that particular scripture. And there's even a song that tells you the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? It has taken me through a lot. I can go back to my days of working as a HR director, which is not the easiest job in the world. I prayed that prayer a lot of times because that psalm was not only a psalm and a song, but it was also my prayer. the Lord was my light. He showed me through all kinds of dark things. You know, you can't tell how tall I am, but I'm, just barely 5 foot, maybe 1.5 now. I used to be 5'3", but, I'm a little short woman. And here I am dealing with all these senior officers in the military at that level. That was, I guess, kind of a shock for them. And there were times when I had to stand and talk to them at 6'8". But the Lord was my light.
Yes.
As I said, we have sons. They really haven't given us any problem. They've done very well. But even raising children, the Lord is my light. We've been married 63 years, be 63 in June. Great husband, but two people together, the Lord is my light. So
Yes.
he's just shown me through a lot of dark places. I've been blessed with pretty good health. Doing fair now, but I thank the Lord for what is. So whatever faces me, I have to say, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear?
I'd be afraid.
Whom should I fear? And I bet you Mary can play that, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
mine is, I was raised in the church also, but my go-to scripture, I love many, love the Psalms too, but Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And what I'm dealing with now, I have to repeat that over and over and over. And the one thing that if you're a child of God, your light will shine, and they will know it as a teacher and a librarian. I didn't hide my Bible, and my students, they knew that. April, I remember one little girl came in the library and said, "Miss Asher, will you pray for me?" I didn't ask her what it was. I just took her in the library and I closed the door and I just asked the Lord to bless her no matter what the problem. So people will know. They know who you are because
Oh, yeah.
oh, you can't say that around Miss Ashford. Don't you worry. You know how Miss Ashford is. So people will know they will know that you are trying, not that we've all, because I used to love the party military too. But if it's in you, it's going to come out. And one of the main things, and I'll be short, I always took my children to church. When we were in the military, I went to the base. Um, the whites thought I would sound like Mahalia Jackson because I love to sing. And so I trained them the way I brought, and to this day they go to church still. Well, they're doing Zoom now, and I think they're saved. Well, they say they are. I believe they are because they're good kids. So I think when you train up a child in the way that the scripture says, they won't depart from it. They may stray away like we all do because we're all imperfect, and God knows that. But it's just so good to know that the Lord is with you and that He loves you no matter what you do. He's always there to forgive you. He just loves you. And so that's what I think. People will see your light and they know that you're a child of God. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to go they wear, my pastor talk about, I'll be quick, April, these police and wear these big crosses on their neck. And so that's not necessary. What does that's not telling nobody nothing. When you see big crosses, and I have, not a big one, but I don't even wear my little cross around my neck now because that's not saying anything to anybody. It's just a form of jewelry. That's not saying you love the Lord or anything like that. So I don't even wear that. Your light, what you do to others is going to tell people who you are in the child of God. You don't have to say a word. So that's my testimony, and I'm sticking to it.
It's amazing. We're all saying basically the same thing about shining. And my favorite song is This Little Light of Mine.
All right.
I'm going to let it shine no matter where I go, no matter what I do. I'm going to let my little light shine. And I believe that because people watch you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't have to say or do or say, I'm a Christian, because they see you and they know who you are. We were out at a restaurant and this guy said to me, I know you. I said, no, you don't know me. He said, yes, I do. So, and he was a white guy and I thought he was trying to flirt. I said, no, you don't know me. He said, yes, I do. I said, no. He said, you know how I know you? I said, please tell me. you're a child of God. I can see it all around you.
Wow.
I said, thank you. And I think that when people see you, they automatically assume something. But as they watch you in your growth, as your walk, they know who you are and they know whose you are.
Yes.
Oh, y'all get me teary-eyed every time. Every single time. This was not planned what I'm about to run back and get. Once we finish recording, I must get everyone's address. So I want to send y'all something, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna send here in just a second. You know, it's amazing to me because we've been doing Ask an Elder, and the opportunities that we have to just learn from our elders, and it's amazing. I was doing some homework earlier, and they were going into the history about organizational behavior and how initially they wanted it to be this very structured approach, and then in the 80s they started considering human capital and all of these things. And I was taking myself through so many changes with it, because I'm like, you could say, oh, this model will make a school change, or that model will make a school change. True enough, there are some things in the natural that can get a school to change. But I'm going to tell y'all, I've been in prayer about, okay, God, what is it that you want from me to make sure that I'm the best person for that school? It feels good to know that I'm not reading 50,000 books trying to get the answer, but knowing that I can rest in God and the answer will come. So just hearing from you all about not having fear, knowing I shouldn't want for anything but his voice, and walking with his light and showing it versus talking, you all just have really inspired me, and I can't even begin to say what it would do for our viewers as well. So let me show y'all what I'm picturing. Hold on.
Aw, isn't that sweet? Oh my God. We have to stay in touch, ladies. I know Bronte.
Yes.
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 You're all on
And
the
this time, please, I need everybody's email address and
Yeah.
address. I
Okay.
really do.
That
So
would be great.
you want an email address?
Yes, we'll definitely get all of that. This is what I want to send y'all. I read these every morning. It's a lady who has a and I just have one more question after this, and we'll be done. There's a lady who has a business. And gosh, I cannot think of the name. I can't think of the name of it. But anyhow, what she does, hold on, let's see if I'm doing this right. Okay. Is that she takes different scriptures when she inserts your name
Wow.
in it.
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh, that is
Wow.
really nice.
Oh, I
Oh
love
my
it.
goodness.
so I'm gonna add, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's good.
And I read these every morning. It's been such a blessing because I read them every morning. Of course, it's God speaking to me about the occurrences of the day or what I embraced the day before. And I'm gonna add the scriptures that you all shared as well. And then if there are any more, I want to add them to my collection. But I'll get you all's information, and I want to send them to y'all as well.
Oh,
Really nice.
Thank you.
Wow. Oh,
Thank
thank you. That is neat.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, again, that's why I said I was so excited, about the Women's History Month, because I definitely wanted to know what you all wanted to share. And I know our time is coming to an end. I know us, y'all. We could be on here all evening. But I do have actually two questions, but this first one is just short. You can just tell me who. I'm just curious to know. If there's any woman, past or present, that you would like to have a conversation with, just share with us who it would be. I'm curious to know what you all's choices would be.
Ooh, I can tell you. I was thinking something about that today.
Uh-huh.
Another blessing in my life, and I have so many. When I was about 15 in high school, uh, I had the pleasure of living with my aunt, and one of her neighbors was a person who had graduated from Bethune-Cookman College.
Mhm.
Well, guess who was coming to Memphis
Mm.
to speak to a group, and I'm not sure what the group was. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Wow.
Oh my
So
goodness.
he and his wife took me and another student with him. He was the coach at the high school over to meet Mary McLeod Bethune. And I was just so, this is why I'm a Delta today. I met her when I was 15. She was such a gracious woman. And what we did, we met with this group and we all ended up at the Memphis airport. This is in 1953. So, everything is segregated. She proceeded to walk very stately into the white waiting room at the airport. And she proceeded to address us because we were following behind her, and all these white folks were looking at us, trying to figure out what is going on. She took her walking cane and started to take it apart because it's the kind that you could unscrew the different sections.
Mhm.
And she explained that this was a gift to her from the King of France. And it had been given to her, I guess, by Franklin Delano Roosevelt because she was a part of his cabinet, if you remember. And she just talked about that. Nobody said anything. I mean, they didn't. I think they were so shocked that we came in, number one, and number two, we were orderly. Number three, she had something interesting to say. Well, we end up walking, and for the first time in my life, I went on the inside of a plane because we accompanied her to help get her settled in her seat. I will always remember that. I would love to have her. She certainly wouldn't remember my name. She may not have remembered the day even, before she died, but I would love to have a conversation with her
Awesome.
because that impacted my life.
Mhm.
That was the first and only time I ever saw her or in her presence. And of course, she didn't live too long after that, but that was at the height of who she was.
Mhm.
She was a person who was known around the world, certainly all over this country. And of course, now it's gone from my head. Her successor, who came behind her and carried on her work, um, was just amazing. Um, April, you know who she is because she's one of our greatest. In fact, today I believe is her birthday.
Oh, now
Uh,
you
yeah,
look.
she's passed on as well. But that that's all I wanted to share is that that's an amazing person I would love to have a conversation with.
All right. Okay.
Well, mine would be, since my mind was music and I love singing, it'd be so many. But what came to my mind, because I grew up in the 60s, would be Diana Ross. And the reason is because when I pledged, like it's not called that now, we had to do scrapbooks and all that. And my theme song was I'm Coming Out. And I found that the other day, I'm coming out
Yeah.
the world. I just love her. I just, even when and I got to see her in Austin, she came one time. I just love Diana Ross. Not to see, like I tell you, Christians like to have a little fun too. So I would love to have a conversation with her since we are basically the same age and from the same era. I would just love to sit with her and let her tell me, just because I loved her and I used her music when I was pledged. I'll never forget
I would like to have dinner with Maya Angelou,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
just to have a conversation with her and to understand where she grew up when she wasn't speaking at all,
Mhm.
and to see how she grew and what made her change, what helped her change. It was only by the grace of God that this happened. And I would just like to have a little dinner with her, a little time just to speak with her and spend with her.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
If I wanted, if there's only one person that I can think of right now that I would like to have a conversation with and that I would like to accompany on her journeys, and that's Harriet Tubman.
Oh,
That sounds right. Mhm. I've been militant all my life, and I love that
Mhm.
because we have always had to use our intellect um, in a way that we accomplished things and they didn't know we were up to it.
Mhm.
Part of my life as an EEO investigator, civil rights investigator, kind of led me into Harriet Tubman's. I mean, I am a fan of Harriet Tubman. Um, the reason being is because in her time, by the stars, she led people to freedom, and they couldn't catch her. Um, we have always had to be strategic
Mhm.
and precise.
Mm.
I don't think that we understand that in our history, we are American history.
Yes.
Because you brought us over here because you were a little too lazy to do it, but you brought us from an established civilization, and we brought that here. So then when Harriet, needed to have people be free, she just organized that and carried it off along with, the Quakers and etc. But if you look back in history, I really would love to just sit and talk with that lady and walk with her because I think she was one of the most strategic people in that time. If you stop and think
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
about it, she got people to freedom over and over, and they still ain't got her.
I love it.
Yes, I really would. I mean, I know that sounds real weird, but when you read about the time that she came up in, I mean, she was strategic. She was, we have always been a little smarter than the average bear.
Yes.
Mhm.
Of course, they played that down. Okay, all of us are products of HBCUs. And in the beginning, they wanted to make it sound like these were inferior institutions that didn't have, like that was just secondary to their little name schools. But you will note that the HBCUs kind of outperformed entirely since HBCUs were established.
Mm.
They outperformed the other people, but you don't get those kind of statistics. But we as a people have always been intellectually ahead of the game.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
That's just me. I hate to
Yeah.
be okay, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
That is, if they'll let us write history like history's supposed to be written, and you don't give all of these things that you would like to cast people as all over the entire world. Persons of color have always been given the short stick, but we don't have a short stick. And if history was told like it's supposed to be told, or like it was, then you'll find out who is the superior race.
The Bible tells us the last shall be first, and Black people are beginning to.
And he didn't pray. Okay.
So that's some of the issues we're
I
having
could
with.
do a whole sermon on that one, okay? The Beatitudes told us. Remember what the Beatitudes said? Okay, he
And
told
that's
them.
why we're
They
having
just wasn't listening.
the white supremacists are coming out big time because Black people are sort of coming out and taking over, and they're afraid now.
Yep.
But
Well, of course. Of
you can't.
course.
Yeah.
God has
Yeah.
told us you can't stop it. God is in the scriptures, so it's our time, as the song said. So we're gonna rise. Now it's not gonna be easy, but we are gonna come to the top, like the butter, the milk when it's out. It's gonna
Yep.
rise to the top. So Black
He
people,
always
yeah,
right.
that's what I'm trying to say. So they
Yeah.
better get ready. We may die some more, but it's our time, as the song we sing in the Black church. It's our time.
Yeah.
So they better get ready. Okay.
Well, if you
Good
think
job.
about it,
Yeah.
You know,
this whole
there
past
is
this whole past year
Yeah.
has been an awakening.
Yes.
Mhm.
The pandemic, as terrible as it was or is, it has caused many things to come out that never would have come out before.
Yes.
Absolutely not. We've been able to see the good, bad, and the ugly in living color. You
Amen.
know, today, of course, that was that monumental decision. They'll consider it monumental after they took George Floyd's life,
Mhm.
that his family will receive it, a very large sum of money. But it's not the money,
Right.
Right.
because that does not replace him for his children,
Mm-mm.
his grandchildren, his nephews, his nieces, yeah, not for anything. But because the Lord allowed everybody who has a
To see,
television to
to see.
see the man being killed. You
Mm.
cannot, you don't need witnesses, you don't need, anything. It's there. It's in living color. So I really believe in divine providence. This is our time. And
Yep.
ladies, let's be clear. Through the years, who has taken most, I won't say most, a lot of the brunt of
Mm.
what was happening in the Black community? It was the Black women,
Yes.
Yes,
because they were the ones
yes,
who dared to make bold moves and to speak and to
yes,
do things,
Yes.
because they killed men as though they were, nothing.
Yes.
So,
yes.
but Black women, they have cooked, they have cleaned, they have nursed the babies, they've done everything. My husband and I work a lot with historic uh, preservation, and one of the people that needs to be celebrated, and I'm sure it happened in many other states, but in Maryland, there was this woman whose name was Annie Kess. She delivered over 1,500 babies.
Wow.
This is, and she finally ended up creating like a clinic in her house.
Wow.
And she did that because she and a bunch of the whites who were trying to learn what she knew had started this clinic in another place, and they didn't want the Black women to come. So she said, okay, I'll just treat the Black women, and how she was the one with the knowledge anyway. And this is all come out in an area where they thought that there was no white people, well, there's no Black people doing anything. Of course not, because it wasn't reported. But as we dig into the history, we even have pictures, because her family kept some pictures of her, so we know what she looks like. We know where the building was. But over 1,500 and Black and white children. So we're right. We almost need to have a Black Women's Month, but we really wouldn't want to do that either. Because they're white women who've done all kinds of wonderful things. But we had to do, in your word, Mary, we had to do it in spite of.
In
We didn't
spite
just
of.
do it, we did it in spite of. We
That's it.
didn't have enough of anything. We probably didn't have running water when you were supposed to have boiling water when babies are born. Can you imagine how innovative you had to be to deliver a baby?
Mhm.
And apparently the survival rate was just amazing that she had with these 1,500 babies that she.
Wow.
Mhm. You know what? You know what is really so sad? If we look at the totality of the situation. And sometimes for our children, because we no longer, when we were growing up, we had people to orally tell us our history. But we don't have that anymore for our kids now. Um, if history was told correctly, then they would understand that they are the chosen one. But history is not told correctly anymore. And so our children are growing up in a kind of like, okay, part of this world is okay, and part of this world is really not okay.
Well, we
Um,
have to work to correct that, Mary. That's on
that's
us.
what we, when you talk about contribution, I think it's an ongoing thing because now I'm a grandmama. So I taught my children now. I have to make sure my grandchildren know any child that really comes in close to Mary, because I need you to know who you are
Yes.
whose you are. So, that's, I have nieces and nephews, so they need to understand that, first of all, your ancestors greatly contributed to the world in which you live today. You won't see it written like that, but you need to understand from whence you came. That goes a long way in setting children on a solid foundation of who they are and whose they are. And I think if we start out that way, because of course that's how they started me, and I feel that that was really a good thing. I made it up here to 74, so must have done something right. I think we ought to treat children like that, because all knowledge that they need is not going to come from books and etc., because they're not written correctly. When we talk about the things that are happening today, white supremacists, each time blacks exert power that is their given right, white supremacists erupt. This is new. The
Yeah.
only thing that's new about it is that the target is no longer just African Americans and minorities. This time they went after their own kind. And so that's the only difference in this. But I think we must always remain focused no matter what happens. And for those around us, as we're speaking tonight about letting our light shine, I think all of us in this conversation spend a great amount of time trying to make sure that young people know who they are and whose they are, and that educationally they're on a solid path. And that really, out of all of us in this conversation tonight, could be one of the attributes, because that's the life, that's the occupation we chose, and that's how we have led our lives, to make sure that those around us know whose they are and whom they are.
Great.
Y'all did it again. Y'all did it again. Y'all were in my head. I remember the last time we ended, and it was such an amazing ending. And my final question was going to be finish the sentence. I'm hopeful for the future because, and I remember, Miss Blackman, you ended it last time. And I don't want to take away from what you just said, because that was the perfect
That's it. Yes.
ending.
This message has been brought to you by the National Black Leadership and Empowerment Project.